Thanks, Cliff. And thanks to Jason and Cliff and Catherine for having me up here. I've enjoyed it. Columbus is a nice town. You got a great group. Those are probably the best executive committee in the country. I know a lot of them. Those three they're great. They're great. So you guys are lucky to have them. Thanks for the introduction. If you were in here before, I might repeat a little something. But like Cliff said, I spent some time with the FDOT, and in that time I learned a lot. I did a lot of observations on the plant side of plant production of asphalt as well as paving. I was always on the road. A part of my job was, I had a real strict boss, Howie Mosley. You may have heard of him. He runs the State Materials Office in Gainesville, and he's all over the place. But he made me hit every pavement project out on the road, whether it was going day or night, every week. And I was select exempt, which meant I worked for the governor, so I was at the will of the governor, and I didn't get comp time or overtime, just had a salary. So I was probably making about $9 an hour out there working day and night. So I jumped to the contractor in 2017, so you can see why. But a little bit about this picture. This is my hometown where I live now in St. Augustine, Florida. And we had a special project down there a few years ago. That's the Intercoastal Waterway, or the Bayfront, and the St. Augustine Inlet's right there. If you've ever been there, you might be familiar. Well, there's horse-drawn carriages that go up and down through there. Well, that's a state road. It's State Road 5A. I can't pronounce the common name of the road because it's Spanish and it's a long name. But anyway, as those horses go up and down that corridor, their hooves are always in one spot, and they have to use the bathroom. Number 1 and number 2, I'll be clean, rated G, right? They go number 1 and their hooves sit in it, and it ruts the road. So when I was with the DOT, we contacted Central Park in New York because they had a lot of horse-drawn carriages. See what they did. They went to the FAA and found out that they had a fuel-resistant mix that they were putting on airports when they fueled the airplanes, because the jet fuel would spill and eat it away, fuel resistant. So long story short, we got a hold of Associated Asphalt, and they said, yeah, we know exactly what you want. They had a product called Stellar Flex, which made it fuel resistant, and we designed a mix. It's a 9.5 millimeter mix, 50 gyrations at 2.5% air voids. So it's a stiff one. So when we started paving that day, probably about a 15-mile-an-hour stiff wind and about, 49 degrees. Don't get that cold there, but sometimes it does. And I was nervous as a cat. So I started calling everybody. Oh, don't worry about it, Steve. You got that Stellar Flex FR, and then you got Ingevity M1 in there. So that made me even feel better. So we were using that as a compaction aid, and actually it helped us with this cold weather, kept it pliable. But anyway, we were real successful with that day. So I'm down there quite often, and I always look and make sure, and it's holding up. I think we paved it and we finished it up in 2021. No, it was later than that, a little bit later than that, 22, 23, right in there, and it's still doing fine. So no more rutting. Before, when we do it as a maintenance contract with the DOT, it would rut within a couple years, just right back in there. So maybe some success. So a little story of that. So what I'm going to talk about is stuff that I've observed from the A paving group, the B paving group. Everybody's got, you got your A paver, B paver, C paver, and your D paver. And it just seems to be that everywhere I've been. And so observing these people and what they do and the habits that they form when they start every day or throughout their day, and they repeat it, they do these things day in and day out, and they don't have to worry about anything because these things are taken care of, so we can pave and solve problems as we come to them because we know we're doing all these things right. And I always thought that as I've observed all these people and the ones that did a good job, maybe I could put this into play one day, and I have since I've come to ATS and Duval Asphalt, and we've become very successful. Quite a bit more successful than before I was there, and it's not all on me. It's a great group of people. I hired a bunch of people, and we've hired a bunch of people, and brought in and changed kind of the culture of where we were at, and pushed everything towards quality and away from quantity. So it's worked for us. And through that quality now, we do a lot of quantity, with a quality quantity. So let's talk about these 7 things. Well, I'll spend a little time on this one. This is a lead tailgate meeting. Now we always have these. You get together before you're going to pave. It's usually like a safety meeting or something. Your company's required, or you gather around and you talk about what you're going to do tonight. Well, at Duval Asphalt and ATS, we had to take it a step further because we were messing up. I mean, we were messing up. And from the top of this page to the bottom, it's even longer now because we still messed up. And we had to expand. Since I made this presentation, we had to expand it. But it's simple, it's documented, and then it's emailed in every night. Or as soon as that tailgate meeting's done, it goes to me, QC manager, goes to our vice president of our company, goes to the project manager of that project they're on and everything. And the things we talk about is things that we were doing wrong. And right up top is rolling equipment. We would show up on a job and at night and the wrong compaction equipment would be there. So for whatever reason, the transports would bring in the wrong compaction equipment or the wrong paver or whatever, and it was just ridiculous. So we try to pave with it. Now we're at the point where if we got the wrong compaction equipment, we're not going to pave because we got to get density. We always mark in there who attended, and then we start getting into the nitty-gritty of it. We talk about stuff like texture and segregation. We remind ourselves, hey, we're not going to fold the wings on the paver because we don't want to have segregation tonight. We need straight lines. We're going to match this joint again tomorrow night when we come back through here, so we need a nice straight line joint so we can match that joint, so we get good compaction on that joint. Seal it up. Talk about backscatter and mix on the mat. We're not going to do that, and I'll get into that and why we don't do it in a little bit. Lift requirements, number of pulls, all this stuff that we were messing up. The latest one we added to it is, where are we going to pave tonight? What station to what station? The reason why that came up is Florida DOT, they do a lot of these intersection jobs. They call them traffic ops jobs. Zach Carnan's in here. I think you're probably familiar with him when you're a consultant with FDOT. But we actually, it was University Boulevard and I don't know, one of those roads, major road, we paved an intersection and we milled, I don't know, 600-700 feet off of the job. I had to fill it back up, and DOT said, thank you very much. we appreciate it. So that's something we added. Down at the bottom, we got the mix that we're laying. Make sure it matches the contract documents because we were laying the wrong mix. So this whole thing came from this. And so we use this tailgate discussion to make sure we're on the same page. We know what we're doing, and we're going to do a quality job. So I don't know if it's like that in your company, but it could be happening. But this helps us a lot, and especially to document it. Now, if you document it and send it in, if you're one of those management positions that reads them, you got to comment back on them, whether it's good or bad. Just because if you just let it go and you put it in that folder in your email file, you never say anything, they're going to start pencil whipping it. So you better comment every now and again so they know you're looking at it. So, but this is usually done. This tailgate discussion is the lead QC and the paving foreman out there. So. And once you get down, it doesn't take that long, so you're not taking a bunch of time away. Project managers, don't worry, we're not taking much time away from your paving there. We're getting your tons down for you. All right, so let's go on from the tailgate meeting and talk about tack. Y'all in emulsion state, South Carolina, y'all use emulsion or straight AC? Emulsions? So you need to ensure that surface is tacked and dry and swept clean. We use power blowers a lot, either drag them behind a little John Deere Gator or whatever they call them, the ones that rotate, backpack blowers, all that, getting it clean. Make sure the tack bar tips are spraying properly for full coverage, no cornrows or wide gaps. Tack is very important. We got to get density, and if you don't have tack on there, you're not going to get density. You may get a little bit, but you're not going to get what you want, and it's not going to be consistent across the mat and longitudinally down the mat as you go. Tack's a very important part. And we had a lot of issues with it in Florida. Tack used to be a pay item, and they took it out and they included it in the price of the bitumen. So everybody just all of a sudden forgot about tack. And then we had a bunch of slipping issues everywhere. And it was never the fault of the product. We should take it and test it, and take the product and test it. It was always, it wasn't tacked right. It was either a dirty surface, they didn't get enough tack down, they missed spots or whatever. Every time it slipped, it was a fault of the people putting the tack down or allowing someone to pave on it. Make sure you're using the right application. I know in Florida we use the emulsified rate, so it's with the water in there. I mean, some of them, they take the water equation out and go with just the asphalt residual that's left, but ours is the emulsified rate. And you need to make sure it's tacked, or it's broke, excuse me. So that emulsion needs to break. What I see a lot happen, or what was happening to us, is when you first start out and you get a heavy tack shot right at that joint, and you go and it thins out and everything goes, well, past that starting joint, everything's breaking fine, but it just takes a long time back up here at this joint to break. People get impatient. Well, it's broke down there, let's go. Lo and behold, what happens? What broke? That joint slips. Especially if you're in a turning radius or stop and start situation or something like that. You got to let that tack break. We pave a lot at night, and it takes longer for it to break at night, especially it gets humid in Florida at night, and that humidity takes forever. If it gets cold and dry, it'll break, real quick. So make sure that stuff's broke. Make sure you get that application right as well. Tacking with a hand wand. A lot of times, you can't get the truck back in there, so you want to you tack it with that hand wand. You need to be real careful of this. You don't want to over tack. If you over tack it, number one, it's going to take forever to break. And if you get too much in there, that asphalt, what's going to happen? It's going to wick up in there and make a fat spot in the mat. It's not going to look good. DOT is going to ask you to take it up. But mostly the issues come when we hand wand, we get it too heavy, it takes forever to break, we get impatient, we pave on it, and we get a slipping issue. Tack's very important. It's how we get density. I don't know, is it anybody familiar? Is it a separate pay item in South Carolina? They pay for it separate? No, it's in the price of the mix, bitumen. So yeah, that's what they did in Florida. Let's talk a little bit about the haul trucks. So effective pavers always had the right amount of trucks so they could keep going down the road. Kind of hard these days, maybe impossible because of the trucking situation, at least I know down our way. But we need to manage our paving to the amount of trucks we can get. Because the idea, just if you were in here for my first session about plant mix, if I can run at 220 tons an hour in that plant all day, I'm going to make great mix because I can just keep going. Paving's the same way. If I can keep going down the road paving, then my mat's going to be smooth. I'm going to maintain my grade, maintain my spreads. Everything's just so much easier. There's plenty of software out there that'll help you manage this. Project Manager, if you're in here, Cat Paving's got a production calculator. There's a few others out there that basically you put in there how many tons you want to do, how many trucks you can get a hold of, how many tons per hour you're going to run the plant, and they'll tell you, okay, well, it tells you the trucks. You don't put the trucks in there, but it gives you all kinds of information that tells you how many trucks you need. And I think it over trucks it a little bit. You can figure that out, so maybe back down a truck, but still. The idea, get enough trucks so you can keep going down the road. Keep those trucks off of the paver. Effective pavers, they don't let those trucks back into the paver. So when those trucks are backing down, you got a good dump man. Need a good dump man, and he's got a lot on his plate because he's taking tickets and all that, but he's going to stop that truck short, and we're going to use that paver to pick that truck up and go down the road. Reason being, if we back that truck up, hit the paver, you're going to have a bump in the mat every time. And if you're laser profile graph state or rolling straight edge state, it's going to show up. It's going to be a ding. You're going to go out there and you're going to have to mill it up if it's too bad. 100-foot patch, I don't know if that's what y'all do here in Florida. They make us go 50 feet either side of the deficiency and mill it up. They don't care if you're putting 2 joints in there. They want that bump out. You want to charge the hopper swiftly. This helps with segregation. I've seen a lot of them do it. They back that truck down. They stop short. The paver picks them up. They start raising that bed, and that mix shifts a little bit, and they pop the tailgate and boom, flood that hopper right in there. Keeps it. If I raise it up, keep going slowly, got my gate up, and start trickling that mix out, it's going to segregate. The larger stone, aggregate, rock, whatever you want to call it, it's going to beat the fine rock down. It's going to be segregated in that hopper, and it's going to show up in that mat. Charge the hopper swiftly. So what about the hopper and the screed? Like I was talking earlier, this has to do with segregation. End of load segregation. I don't know if y'all have that issue in South Carolina. We had it real bad in Florida, and the Florida DOT wrote the perfect spec, and it will kick your butt if you have end of load segregation, because you're not going to get out of it. It's a quantifying spec. You have end of load segregation, they make you go cut cores in it, because that segregated area, trust me, I've seen it too many times, it does not have density in it. And if it doesn't have density, you got to mill and replace it. One of the toughest specs I've ever seen. Maintain the hopper 1/3 to 2/3 full at all times. So that one on the left, I don't know if you can see that real well, but you can see your slack conveyor showing. You do not want it to look like that. You always want mix in that hopper as you're coming down with the next truck. You never want to go towards that truck with your paver, empty those wings from the side with those slack conveyors showing. Because that mix that's sitting on the outside as we're paving that truck out, it's getting cold, right? Now it doesn't flow as good. If we dump that down on those empty slack conveyors and it gets drugged back there to that auger, it's not going down that auger because it's cold. That oil, liquid AC, has become cold. So it's going to hit that kickback paddle right there, and it's going to look like a chevron mark as you go down the road. And if you do that every truck, you can just about do a spread rate on a road driving. You can feel it, and you can see it, that chevron design every time, because it just drags it up that screed right there every time. So that comes from folding those wings of that paver with that cold mix in the outside and dropping it on an empty slack conveyor. On the right, if we got it a little bit like that, just fluff it up, keep that mix live, put it on top, keep working that, and it just kind of rolls it in there, gets it a little hotter, uses the heat of what's already in there, rehomogenizes, sort of, but it's better than the alternative of having end of load segregation, or temperature segregation, I think is what they call it in Texas. Make sense? So we want to check the depth frequently of our mat. Use your depth sticks. Make sure we're hitting that grade. It's great. We got all these electronics on there, but nothing beats that stick right there with our fluff built in there, 1/4 inch per inch, and checking it and making sure we're getting our depths. So we got to change the depth. The cat guy, I listened to him this morning. He talked about it. There's 2 ways to change the depth on there. You can use the toe points, or you can use the jack screws. You see those guys screwing back there? What you don't want to do is one guy using the toe point and one guy using the screw, because they don't adjust exactly the same. So we can get off. More importantly, we can warp our screed, and we've done that. We've warped some screeds, and it's pretty expensive when you warp a screed. So just keep that in mind. Effective pavers, they tell their guys, hey, and it's on that checklist. If we have, what are we going to use tonight? If we're not using electronics, hey, what are we going to use? Use a toe point, or we're going to use the screws. Using electronics, it does it for you. And guess what? Electronics go off the toe points. They move the toe point. They can't turn the screws. So it tells me that those toe points are probably better managing your depth, adjusting that angle of attack. So Monitor for marks or drags. Nothing in the world worse than something getting caught in the screed and you drag it down that brand new mat and everybody's looking this way, nobody's looking that way, and you go 100 feet down the road with a big old clinker out of the plant in there and just dragging it up the middle of the mat. Now you got to fix it. Now you got a bunch of handwork. Now you got a deficiency in the mat. You might not pass laser profilograph, might not pass rolling straight edge. DOT might say it's segregated. Cut some density cords in there. Well, we put it back in by hand. We rolled it in, but we got density, so just be careful. Look at, someone should always be looking at that behind that screed. Maintain a constant head of material in the auger. If you were here for the cat guy before, he's halfway up that auger. You want to maintain that head of material halfway up that auger at all times. A little bit above it's okay. Never want to drop it down. You never want to get real high. You're going to change your angle of attack. It's not going to be good. Keep it constant, calm. Just like constant paving, everything constant. So. Produce a quality mat. Avoid excess looting or raking. Well, sometimes it's hard, but in that tailgate meeting or before we get there, we can talk about it. Hey, we got some handwork coming up here. How are we going to attack this with the paver? How much are we going to leave behind? Who's going to do the looting? Who's going to do the shoveling? Let's make sure we get it done quick. Try to avoid it as best we can. This is the same picture. That's in St. Augustine. That's with that mix I was talking about, 2.5% Airvoid mix. With that Stellar Flex, that's some stiff stuff right there. And actually, I looked at that a couple weeks ago, and it still looks okay. We had some guys did some real good looting right there. So I talked about backscattering before. We don't want to, if we correct a place in the mat, what we should do is we take that loot, we turn it up on in, and we dig whatever's in there. We bring a shovel all the way back there, and we put the shovel in there, and we rake it out. I see it so many times where the shovel man up there, up by the screed, and he just chunks it, and it just goes cast all the way across the mat. Well, what happens is we come through with that roller, and those big rocks that are sitting on top, we roll them right into that mat, and then it looks like segregation. Untrained eye, we get inspectors or DOT or just anybody, this looks terrible, it don't look like the rest of the mat, you must have segregation, we want it removed off our job. Especially if you're doing private customer paving in parking lots and stuff, it's just, they're all about aesthetics in a parking lot. So if you're constantly casting material everywhere, I asked a guy one time, I pulled up on a job and this dude, he's just casting. I'm like, why are you doing that? He goes, I'm shoveling, man. I'm shoveling asphalt. Okay, that's what they told me to do. I guess he just wanted to look busy. So after we do that handwork and we get everything spread out, we're at the grade we like, and we get it in there, we need to turn that loot over onto the flat side and rake those big rocks off of there. Get them off, get them out of there, throw them in a bucket, throw them over in the yard. Asphalt grows great grass, so throw it off on the shoulder and then roll it in. Don't leave that stuff up there and roll it in. Same problem, segregation, aesthetics, they're bad. Get rid of it. So what about this roller? Very important part of paving, right? Because we got to get density. So ensure your pattern is keeping pace with the paver. That's a trick. We want to make sure that the paver is keeping pace with the roller. The roller is going to set the pace of paving because you got to get density. If the paver's running off and leaving the roller, you're in trouble. Because in between where that roller's rolling and where that paver's placing, that mix is cooling down. And what do I need? I need constant temperature to get compaction on my mix. The rolling pattern sets the paving pace. Hey, we might be struggling with a mix, you know. Something happened at the plant, we haven't got to adjust it out, we're struggling getting density. We got to slow everything down. We might have to put a couple more passes on here. We need to slow everything down. You have to insist to slow the paver down so we can get density. Density is everything. Roller guys, they want to monitor that mat constantly for picking up. That roller picks up something on his drum, and every time it turns all the way around, we give it a little mark in the mat. Boom. And before you know it, we got that mark, and all the way down the mat. Is it bad? Looks bad. Could be bad. I've never really seen any of them ravel out, but it looks bad. Brings attention to your job, negative attention that you don't want. Use proper techniques to avoid roller heads. There's a way that we roll out there. When we are going to stop and go back the other way, we turn it at an angle. We back up and go again. For some reason, when we push that mix up, turn it at an angle, when we hit it going straight, it'll roll that roller head right out. But if we come up and leave it square and go back, we'll never get it out unless you get on it and cross roll it. I don't know, asphalt's just that way. So be mindful of those roller heads. So let's talk a little bit about quality control. Again, edge lines. I think it's just my pet peeve. I hate when people pave crooked. I was coming up here the other day. I don't know if I was in Georgia or South Carolina, but I seen some center line joints that were doing this. Do you think that we have good compaction on those joints when they're going like this? Do you think we've married those joints up real good? I don't think so. I think them seams are going to come apart probably long before the pavement fails. That's just my opinion. It looks terrible. It's just me probably though. But if you're on an airport, they make you cut them back, right? So there's got to be something to it. You cut back them joints and they're straight, and you spray tack on that vertical thing, and then they make you cut density cores on it. So got to be something to it. It's got to be straight in order to work right. So monitor temperatures of the incoming trucks and the mat. So like if you were here for my production side of it, temperature's everything. Out on the road, temperature's everything. We need consistent temperature within 10 degrees of the mix design temperature or compaction temperature. We need every one of those trucks like that, and we need to monitor that. We have a spec in Florida. We monitor the first 5 trucks. They got to average within 15 degrees of the mix design temperature, and then every 5th truck thereafter we take a temperature, and they got to be within 20 degrees. So it's pretty strict, but Super Pave works at temperature. Years ago, I went through that research thing with the State Materials Office, and we called it SWAT, Super Pave works at temperature. And basically what we did is we had nuke gauges. We didn't have those fancy PQIs then. You had a nuke gauge, and you make a pass with the roller and you take a reading of your density. Make a pass, you roll and reading your density. At the same time, you're taking a temperature. And you'll see as that temperature falls off, that density will fall off. You won't get as much density, so it means everything. Monitor the spread rate frequently. So the screed guys are hitting it with their stick, making sure they're getting it. Your QC guys need to be monitoring those spread rates. We do it every 100 tons. So every 5 trucks, we give the paving foreman a spread rate. Make sure he's putting down the right thickness. Every 100 tons. It's a lot of work, but they do it. Monitor the mat for defects such as pulls, tears, and segregations. He's back there. He's doing his spread rates. You might as well look at the mat, make sure we're not pulling, tearing, or segregating the mix. So what about that density? We have a lot of success in our density, and here's what we do. And I've learned this from people who had successful density. We obtain process control cores to ensure our rolling pattern is achieving density every day or every night. The first thing we do, we lay 3 loads of mix, and we go pick 3 spots across the mat, and we cut a core. We take a reading with our PQI, Pavement Quality Indicator, which is a non-nuke density gauge. Take a reading, take a temperature, cut a core, and put it on a truck and send it back to the lab, and they give us a GMB on that core. We calculate our density and make sure our gauge is reading right. Every single night. We might have paved there last night, same mix, same subsurface that we're paving on, everything, but we still do it every night. Something changes with the mix, we need to know, and you can tell quickly by cutting those process control cores and getting them back in there and see if we're getting density. We're going to adjust the rolling pattern based on the PC cores, or if we have a lot of confidence in our density gauge, which we should. If we get a PC core and it's matching up with our gauge, or we put an offset in there that we know it can match, that's when we'll change the rolling pattern. Check all joints and mat for smoothness with a manual roll and straight edge. So even if we have a laser profilograph job, we'll check every joint that we make with a manual straight edge, and then we roll and straight edge what we pave every day, even though they're coming back with a van. We just want to know that for us, it's smooth. And I'm an old school guy. I like to roll and straight edge better than that fancy van. So you can see the gauge. Them vans, it's a mystery. Oh, we'll get back to you. So here's some of the tools. Up on the right, it's an infrared temperature gun. Those things used to be real expensive, but now you can get them at Lowe's and Home Depot. They don't need to be calibrated. Just need to give you an idea so you can look at that mat and make sure I got constant temperature, or the same temperature across that mat. If I shoot 3 places across that mat and the middle of it's 50 degrees colder than the outside, I probably have a segregation issue. Quickest way to check it out that I have a segregation issue is with temperature, because it's open, it's porous, it's losing temperature faster than the two sides of the mat. The other two is a nuclear gauge and a non-nuclear gauge, that pavement quality indicator on the bottom left that I was talking about. So that's what we use. I don't have a nuclear program. I don't do any soil testing, so I don't want all the trouble with keeping up with nuke stuff. So successful paving needs total buy-in from everyone. Everyone meaning from upper management all the way through the organization. Praise loudly when deserved and provide constructive correction when needed. And like I said before, we need to tell our people that what we do is a big deal. We're building the infrastructure of the towns we live in. The people we know are driving these roads. Let's be proud of it. It's our reputation on the line. If you build a bad road because you didn't pay attention to the quality or the maintenance of your equipment or your plant or anything like that, it's your own darn fault. But if we take the time, be proactive, pay attention to what we're doing, and be proud of what we're doing, then we can do it. We've proved it in Jacksonville that we can be successful, really successful. So, any questions anybody have?
Not a question at all.
No question. I must have covered it pretty good. Did I cover it pretty good or what? Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.